Recording in progress.
She's coming in a few minutes. Om Sahanavadu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Chinmayam Vyapya Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tadpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namah. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namah. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namah. So I woke up this morning thinking, I have to do the marriage talk. And then immediately I thought, but I'm not married. Really, married people should do the marriage talk. And sometimes actually, people will even say that what would you do? You're not married. And it's true, I'm not. But I can help you give what the scriptures say on marriage. And then also there's the essence of relationships, which may not be specific to just one type of relationship. And over the years of working in this field, I have definitely been privy to many relationships. So actually, one of the things I did this morning was called people who I thought were in really good relationships and said, what would you say is the best thing to make a marriage work? And there were definitely some common factors in the discussions that I have, which I will definitely come to. So let's start with the word marriage in Sanskrit is vivaha. And it is one of the 16 samskars. So, what are samskars? The most casual way of translating samskars is rituals that we go through that in our journey of life, which ties us to Bhagwan or helps us be more cultured, would be another way you could translate samskars. Samskars also means very similar to the word vasana, where it's an impression that we are creating. So whereas vasanas just happen because we exposed and we can deliberately create it, samskars is very deliberately created. So 16 samskars, there's about 4 that happen before birth itself. And so that samskars usually gets discussed more in when a couple is pregnant. Um, but actually the most important samskar from the 16 is this vivaha, which is entering into grihastha life. And so in terms of what scripture says the purpose, number one, to support each other in doing dharma. And so we see even in our Ramayana, the itihasas. So mostly in the Bhagavad Gita, there's no direct reference to marriage. We can apply things from the Bhagavad Gita in terms of relationships overall, but specific to marriage, there's nothing in the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, I remember when I was, I think, so new to Hong Kong. I think I just left Bhavai Ashram and I was here for the very first time. And one of our trustees' family member was getting married and they wanted to print a quote on their wedding card. And so she said to me, give me a quote from the Bhagavad Gita on marriage. And as you know, of course, you should know this. And so I had just come out of the ashram. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, I don't know any quote from the Bhagavad Gita on marriage. And so I remember that night, like it was like this. I don't think I have so diligently read the Bhagavad Gita even during those 2 years in the training, because it was like I'm going to see her the next day and I have to give her an answer to this quote on the Bhagavad Gita. And I felt this heaviness of this pressure that I'm representing Gurudev and like she's asked for this quote. And the way she said it, like, of course there's a quote there. And I'm thinking that maybe there's a quote and I missed it. And so I read all 700 verses of the Gita that night. And it takes 3 hours to go through just the verse, like not even the commentary, just the verse. And then I thought, okay, I must have missed it. And I read it the second time. And then next morning, I thought, like, what am I going to say to her? There's really nothing in the Bhagavad Gita that directly talks about marriage. And so I remember I rang the Swamiji who had taught our course, like kind of like, I must have missed something. I'm doing something wrong. And I said, Swamiji, somebody asked me for this quote on the Bhagavad Gita, and maybe I just came out of the course and I totally missed it. And he's like, no, there's no quote on the Bhagavad Gita there's no quote on marriage from the Bhagavad Gita. The closest you can get to is Parasparam Bhavayantu, which I'm also going to come back to. So mainly our references on marriage comes from Ramayana, Mahabharata, and some of the Puranic stories. But these two are the main ones. And so when we say the purpose of marriage is to support each other in Dharma. We see in the Ramayana when Sitaji and Ramji are getting married, then Janak Maharaj, when he puts Sitaji's hand in Ramchandraji's hand, he says, Saha Dharmacharini. She will be your Saha Dharmacharini. She will walk with you on the path of Dharma. Now, this with you on the path of Dharma translates to supporting each other to do Dharma. So, almost marriage is an agreement you are making with this other person that I will support you in doing the right thing. Now, sometimes people don't know that's explicitly what you're signing up for. And so, actually, even before I tell you what the scriptures are going to say what the purpose of marriage is, it's important that you know why you marry. And so, for a moment, we're going to do that. Right? We're going to take out phone, note section, or if you have a notebook and a pen, then that's even better so that we off our gadgets. But if you don't, that's fine. Phone will suffice. Airplane mode on notes. And why did you get married? Like, what did you want out of getting married? Now, some people will say everyone's getting married, so I got married. And then some of the older generation will say, parents said I had to get married, and so I got married. But even though that might have been the initiative in terms of getting you to get married, definitely for yourself, what do you want out of this marriage? Just write it down. Now, some of you might have written a really long list and probably need more time to keep going.
No.
And some of you may have actually really struggled with that question. Yeah. But it's a very important question to ask even before getting married. What is it that you want to accomplish from getting married? Because when we have goals, we know what we're working towards. Right? This idea of everyone's getting married and so I got married. It doesn't give us much direction or vision. And so important for us to have a vision when we're getting married or when we're doing anything whatsoever, right? So let's pause on that and we can definitely reflect on it. So purpose in terms of what the scriptures are saying, like I said, there's this agreement that we are making that we are going to support each other in Dharma. Now, more specific as a couple, I mean, we do it in terms of like if you're coming to the ashram, generally there's satsang, and all of us are trying to help each other have more devotion, encouraging each other to do the seva or to turn up to the class, so I've seen it with so many of y'all. And then, like I have heard people say like they call each other the night before saying, tomorrow we're going. And then one of them will say, no, no, I'm really busy. And the other one is like, no, we're going and we're having dinner afterwards. And so now it's like such a concrete plan that that person has to come for class. And so it's not that it happens only in marriage that we support each other doing dharma or whatever we think is a good thing to be doing. Right? But I gave the example of coming for class, but people do it with the gym, or people do it with going to a party or a wedding or a lunch, right? It's like this, come on, we have to do this. But in a marriage, there's a lot more karma involved. So what does karma mean? The law of karma, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The word karma, action. Yeah? But when I'm using it here, I'm using it in terms of the law of karma. And this principle of every action has an equal and opposite reaction is basically our bricks for creating our future. Like it's me being the architect of my life. And now in a marriage, it's we being the architect of our life. Yeah, our lives. Correct. And not just me and spouse. It will then become me and children. But also my parents, spouse's parents, my sibling, spouse's siblings. Like it's no longer me creating my life. It is now we working as a team to create family, nuclear, then family, extended, then family, even more extended, because all of us have a gazillion cousins, and then me and you working in this way to create community. So this partnership is a commitment, and therefore it is said in the scriptures that whenever the wife does dharma, then she gets all the punya, yeah? And he doesn't. But if the wife does papa, then she gets the pap, and so does he. I know, sounding very unfair, right? Now, what happens when the guy does punya? He gets the punya and she gets the punya. And what happens when the guy does papa? He gets the pap. So her pap is shared between both, and his punya is shared between both. Now, why this injustice? Women have to face many other injustices. But one reason for this injustice from the stories of the Vedas is that there's this story of where Indra had to kill a Brahmana. And the power of the Brahmana was so immense that it didn't allow him to rule the heavens the way the heavens should have been ruled. And so he divided that power, Indra's power, so that the heavens could run the way the heavens run. And women took most of that power. And so the monthly pain, the pain of childbearing, or so much of the other inequalities that we see on a regular basis all through the history of each culture, not even just Hindu culture. It's not like there was equal rights in other cultures. In fact, if you go further enough in Hindu culture, there was equal rights. And then it deteriorated. So the idea was there was already the sense of having taken part for the community to thrive. And so if you see this not story-wise, if you see this still in terms of practicality, it's like progeny continues because of that sacrifice that women make for their bodies. And it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, except today you see so many women not wanting to get fat and therefore not having children, or giving the child to a surrogate, whereas before that would have been unthinkable. Today you see how much it features, or again, you see she doesn't want to have the children because she doesn't want to give up career. She doesn't want to, and so we see how much of her responsibility it is to be the one bearing the child. So it seems like an injustice, but in terms of how, remember, there isn't any injustices in the universal laws. And so here, both share her path, and therefore it's now the responsibility of the husband, in a way, to ensure she doesn't steer away from Dharma too far. This idea of working together to support each other to do Dharma. And the more punya he gets, she gets without doing it. So naturally, she's going to completely encourage him to constantly do punya. And so, if he's giving in charity, she should be thinking, yes, give more. If he's doing seva, yes, do more. And even there, that possessiveness or the clinginess, you'll see that it's offset by The more he does, the more it's better for both of us. And so, in terms of the way the psyche works, it's like, don't stress her out too much, because if she does wrong, both of us suffer. And from the other point of view, the more he does, both of us benefit. So the first purpose of marriage, to walk together in Dharma. And even just in this, the important part of Dharma, the word Dharma, means to hold. Dharma is what holds things together. And so the first Dharma in terms of marriage is to each other, and then to family, then to community, and all the rest of it. The first Dharma, as me as a person, is parents, because they're the ones I received from first. But now, this Vivaha, the game has changed. Now, in this partnership, Dharma means I do what will hold this relationship. And then make it thrive. Because Dharma is also nurturing. Right? It brings goodness, it brings abundance, it brings beauty, it brings virtues, values, prosperity, love. It brings all of it, holding it together. And so here one very important point is this idea of a partnership. Both people bringing something to the table. Now, it doesn't have to be equal in what they bring, because we all have very different talents and skills. What has to be equal is the respect that each one has for what the other is bringing. What do I mean? Sometimes, because of who we marry, we get status. And so people marry for that reason. Then to remind ourselves, whatever flaw we see in this person, that they have brought this to the table which I valued. And some people may not want status at all, which is why earlier I got you to say, why did you marry? And then to clarify more specifically, why did you marry this person? Because that's also a very, very important question. Sometimes it's skill set. I am not good at X, Y, Z. And then in this relationship, the other person can help with all those skill sets. And so it might be skill sets that it doesn't matter what society values those skill sets as. I don't have them. And so respect for this person for having them. Like in your typical example of where the woman stays home and looks after the house. If somebody doesn't have that skill set, and today many men are staying home looking after the house. And if she doesn't have that, there has to be equal respect for, because generally in society, whoever's earning the money is respected. But I couldn't do this. And so that equal respect for, and even if society doesn't have it, it doesn't matter. If each person in the relationship has it, the relationship will flourish. So, in terms of Dharma, always we're focusing on what we can give rather than what we can get. And so this is a very important point in terms of our thinking. It's so easy on a daily basis to slip into, but I am doing, shouldn't I get? Now, we're just in London last week and we did so many talks on this Gita Panchamrit, and the second verse in the Gita Panchamrit is Karmanya Radhikaraste. Your right is only to action. Don't,
Not the fruits.
daydream about the results or get attached to the results or keep thinking about the results. But it's so easy. It's so easy to think, well, I did the dishes 5 days in a row. Shouldn't you do it at least one day? Maybe. I'm not saying they should get away with not doing the dishes. The idea here is maybe they don't, but maybe they're bringing something else. It's easy to see what I am doing. Sometimes, because I get so stuck in seeing what I am doing, I'm not seeing what I'm getting. And that's why this equal respect. What am I getting? So, firstly, in terms of what I should be doing, give more. But also, every time we think, I'm giving so much, stop, pause, and think about how much you're getting. And all the different ways in which we're getting. And sometimes it's not obvious how we're getting. Because when we marry one person, sometimes we're getting the support of the entire family. And then we can be so stuck on one point of, you not doing this. And the what they're not doing becomes small, whereas what we're getting is bigger and maybe more subtler, and maybe you can't pinpoint it as a tangible thing as easily. So Saha Dharma, Charini, Sita Ji is one who walks with Ramchandra Ji in Dharma. Then Dharma is all of this. It's this holding together through equal respect and not quantifying in terms of social norms, but quantifying in terms of our well-being. And holding together because there's a bigger picture of the why this institution was entered into in the first place. Then secondly, so why do we get married? To walk the path of Dharma together. It's actually a commitment to encourage each other to walk the path of Dharma. And then to gain moksha. And most people don't realize this features in getting married at all. A lot of people think it's the opposite. Like most people will say, you join ashram if you want to get married, moksha, and if you want to live in worldly life, you get married. But scriptures don't think that. Yeah. So purpose of human birth, because this human birth is so incredibly precious to get. Purpose of this human birth is moksha. Like there's just no doubt that that's the ultimate purpose of human birth. Then, so many desires. So many desires. So how to even think of moksha? Because I want everything from matcha to ruling the world. Right? We have all the desires from the smallest to the most imaginable. I don't think I'll ever attain it, but that's still my desire. And some people do, right? Some people have a phenomenal impact on the world with how much they're able to do. So now, how to deal with all these desires but still keep moksha as the goal? Very simply, scriptures say, just walk in the right direction. And then you'll eventually get there. Even if you make many, many, many stops on the way, or even if you walk really, really slow, as long as it's in the right direction and you just keep walking, you'll get there. Now, moksha is the ultimate goal of human birth, but by no means is it easy. Like, it's the highest thing you can accomplish, and so of course it's the hardest thing to do. And so what's the criteria to be able to get moksha? The first one is, in terms of Vedanta, Viveka. And the second one is Vairagya. What's Viveka? The ability to tell real from unreal. Or we can see it in terms of, if we're looking at marriage, then you see it in terms of important from unimportant. Like, because so many things are just not important. But then if we focus on it, and so this ability to filter thoughts, does it matter? In the bigger picture of things, does it matter? Then let it go. So, like I said this morning, I rang a whole bunch of people who I thought were very successfully married. And one of them, when I said, "What would you say is the most important thing?" Let go of all the small stuff. Like, you sound like the book, "Don't Sweat the Small Stuff." Yeah, exactly. Don't. Like, there's just too much small stuff. Like, focus only on the big stuff. Because the small stuff very fiddly take up too much energy and time, and the result will be small. But if we focus on the big stuff, result will also be much bigger. So, Vivek, difference between important and unimportant. Difference between Dharma, Adharma, because we have to walk path of Dharma. And then eventually, difference between real and real. When we in a relationship, there's so much story. Like, sometimes when we'll say, "What's bothering you?" Somebody can talk for like a whole hour, but actually that's not what's bothering them. Sometimes they themselves don't know what's bothering them. But those people who have been married for very long, the spouse knows what's bothering them. Even when they themselves don't know what's bothering them. Because you've become able to filter through all of that and see real, unreal. And so all those beautiful qualities that we need to follow the spiritual journey, we find in this relationship. The second quality is Vairagya. And then lots, right? We need lots of qualities to get moksha. But let's just focus on a few, so I can show you how in a relationship we start working on those qualities. The meaning of Vairagya is to slowly outgrow our desires. So one of the things that marriage does is it bursts that bubble of that ideal romanticism that you see in movies, because that's just not real life. Real life relationships are work, and the person doesn't change. They just don't. The flaws you married stay the flaws they have. And then, if you're going to make this relationship work, you have to make peace that this is who this person is. And I'll give an example which maybe isn't as much of an emotional trigger. Someone who's always late. They always late. And now you know this person. And if they late, and every time they get late, you get super upset about it and angry about it and criticize them for it, it's a lot of energy wasted. It's also you not accepting that this is who the person is. So much of the time we're trying to change them, we're trying to fix them. And that person thinks, I don't need fixing. And then they trying to fix us, and we also think, I don't need fixing. And so, exactly, I don't need fixing, and neither did they. And so, what's Vairagya? Letting go of this idea of this romantic notion, number one, that they will change. Or number two, whatever unrealistic story we made in our head of how it should be. This is such an interesting word, should.
Mm.
Like a great exercise for us to do. How many times in the day do you say the word should? Like when couples fighting, how many times have you said the word should? And what does this word should even mean? Basically, that we're not doing it. But it's valued. Or I don't want to do it, so you please do it. Like, it's important to know how we're using it. It's also important to evaluate if it's really something that's necessary to do. I remember when I first came to Hong Kong and they taught me how to make the garlands. And she said the flowers should always face up. Please note, should.
Mm.
There's no garland right now, but the flowers should face up. And then we were at a function, which was not a Chinmay mission function, and there was this beautiful picture of Krishna, and there was a garland.
Mm.
And half the flowers faced down, and then the other half of the flowers faced up. And she looked over at me, the person who taught me how to make the garland. And like, see, that's wrong. The idea, like, because why? The flowers should be facing up. I remember sitting there thinking, because when I first came, new, young, like you want to follow, you want to get things right. And the way she made the garland was beautiful because you could see more of the flowers because they were facing up. And then I thought, like, is it so bad that the flowers face down? And I just so happened to look at her necklace. And your necklaces have different designs.
Mm.
And then sometimes they're symmetrical and the pendants in the middle, or sometimes they just want continuous pattern.
Mm.
And both designs are beautiful. And I thought, why can't it be the same with garlands? Why is one way right and one way wrong? Actually, there doesn't have to be a right way. There doesn't have to be a should. Vairagya is me outgrowing my insistence that the world should rearrange itself the way I like it. I outgrow the need to always have it my way. Not because I'm compromising, because I can see the should doesn't belong there. Please note it's not a compromising, it's an understanding. This way works, this way also works. And maybe there's a third way that will work even better. And then we change, because we definitely change. The person you marry is not the person you married to 10 years later. or 20 years later. You've changed, and they've changed, and then that's another outgrowing. It's we can't hold on to it should be this way. And sometimes health, and the person just can't do now. They want to do, they so upset they can't do. You also wanted them to do, but health. They already upset enough that they can't do. You don't need to add to their upset. And so you just let it go. Sometimes it's finances, and you have to just let it go. Sometimes it's extended family, and you wanted to, both of you wanted to, but, and you let it go. What's Vairagya? There's a beautiful quality of letting go of our desires, being able to outgrow them, not compromise them, not even sacrifice them, but to outgrow them. Do we have to compromise? Sometimes. Do we have to sacrifice? Sometimes. I'm not saying you're never going to have to compromise and sacrifice. Sure, those are lessons we have to learn as well. But Vairagya is something more beautiful. It's through this journey where it actually no longer matters. I'm just fine with not getting what I had once wanted. So Vairagya is this quality that we need to get moksha. And marriage is actually a very useful place to learn Vairagya. Because you want, the other person wants, then the in-laws want, and then your parents want, and then friends want, and then so many people want, and there's just only me, and only 24 hours in the day, and something's going to have to give. And it's this insistence. The more we hold tight to know it has to be only one way, we'll realize it's very painful. Does that mean you'll never get your way? Of course not. Sometimes you'll get. And therefore, choose when you're going to fight and what you're going to fight for. If we fight for all the little things, out comes little. If we're not fighting about the little things, we're so much more amendable to each other for even the bigger things. So, Vairagya. So, Vivek, Vairagya. Then, of course, we saw like so many qualities we need. And one in specific I'm going to come back to is forgiveness. But let's go to Bhakti now. Okay? In Vedanta, it was Vivek and Vairagya. And in Bhakti, what's the most important quality we need to learn? Love. And somebody was been in a relationship for a really, 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 really long time. And then now there was this heartache that this person has disappointed them. And I remember saying to them, and it was Krishna's words, not mine, because I don't think I could have said anything so right. I said, no, no, no. The spouse you had was only practice. The real loving has to be for Bhagwan. And that's what marriage is. Practice. Practice of all the virtues we have to master, and practice for this ability to love. And here in Bhakti Shastra, it's explained that the most important quality is purity, to make our love as unconditional as possible. And in fact, when I ask people what's unconditional love, you'll be able to answer so well. But can we love unconditionally? Not at all. We have lots of conditions in how we love. We want to be loved back. In fact, you should love me so much that I feel special and important. What about you? Doesn't matter. I should feel special and important. And if I do love, it makes every other virtue easier to practice. If I don't like you back, let's say I meet total stranger in the MTR train station who is asking me for direction and has very strong accent, so I have to really focus on what they say, and then giving me long story about why they are lost. How attentive am I? I'm trying. I'm trying to be. I'm a nice person. I'm listening to you. I want to be helpful. It's a conscious effort telling myself, be nice, be polite, be helpful. What am I really thinking? I'm late. Why are they taking so long to make the point? I could just tell them where to go. No, no, be nice. Listen, smile, smile, smile. I'm smiling. Right? That's going on in our head. And then when you see moms listening to their kids babble nonsense, so patiently the mom is sitting there nodding her head. Is the kid saying anything important? No. Does she have lots to do? Of course. Or when beloved is learning language and practicing it, like when you're fully grown adults but you're practicing Sindhi, Hindi, and then your friend or your spouse is sweetly saying, yes, yes, you're doing well, you're doing well. Why is that easier to do? Because you love. When I love, every other quality becomes easier to practice. Having patience, having courage, having discipline, being supportive, being accepting, being encouraging, being sensitive. So love automatically purifies. And Bhakti Shastras also says, if you love even just one person completely unconditionally. So one way to grow in love is love lots of people. Second way, just one person, but completely unconditionally, moksha. Even if you can do it with just this one person. And then that's why in the wedding ceremony, the bride is always Lakshmi, so that the groom can love as unconditionally as Vishnu loves Lakshmi. And the groom is Vishnu, so that the wife can love as unconditionally as Lakshmi loves Vishnu. And in the Puranic stories, there's such nice ways of playfully showing how one can't exist with the other without the other. There's this one story of where um, Shivji and Parvati ji are playing a game. I know in the wedding ceremony it's Vishnu and Lakshmi, but same. Shivji and Parvati. And Nandi says he's the referee and he will judge who will win. And of course, Nandi is partial, and so he says Shiva wins, even though Shiva didn't win. Parvati ji had actually won. But it was by like a very close call, and so Nandi is like, no, no, Shiva won. And Parvati ji gets so angry, like, and then Shiva just laughs and says, yeah, yeah, anyways, I'm better. And you can see this happening in so many couples. Mm. And so Parvati ji disappears because as Devis and Devatas, they can become sunless at will. Disappears. and then disappears from all of creation. And when Parvati ji disappears, there's no food on this planet.
Mm.
Like every single creature is starving. And so Shiva is very life that keeps us alive. Yeah. Which, what's the point if every single creature on the planet is starving? Life can be given, but it has to be sustained. And so if Parvati's disappeared, sustenance has disappeared. But in the story, it's like this, he's like missing her, and now he's pining for her, and he's so lonely, and he's looking at the spot where she was sitting, and she's not there. And then he's looking at Nandi like, why'd you do that? Because now she's not here. And she's like, no, you're going to have to learn your lesson properly. And she doesn't come back. But then all these prayers of, please, mother, feed us, we are hungry. And so she disguises herself, or she thinks she has disguised herself, and she opens up like what we would call a soup kitchen today. And there's this line of thousands of creatures, and she's feeding each one as they come. And Shivji joins the line and waits his turn in the line. And then when he puts his hand out like this to beg like everyone else. It's this, remember I said, we respect what the other person brings. It's not the same talents that we're going to have. But whatever talent it is, it's of equal importance. Maybe not of equal status, but definitely of equal importance. So the wedding ceremony is this reminder that if you can love this one person unconditionally, and some will say romantic love is the easiest to love. Some will say motherhood is the easiest love to love. I don't know if there's an easiest, but romantic definitely has this swept away. And it's like we can become so single pointed in romantic love. And there's yearning and there's pining. And yearning and pining is very purifying because it intensifies love. The other thing about love in Bhakti Shastra is that Bhagwan comes in all forms. And so the idea in Bhakti is love absolutely everyone as Bhagwan. Now sometimes it's easier, to be nice to that stranger in the train station than it is to his family, her family. I, like I said, I didn't get married. It would be one of the hardest things because my family is my family, right?
Mm.
This is the people who like know me in and out and have just accepted me. And that's true for both people. And now we belong to each other, but I don't feel so completely loved and accepted by your family. And maybe my family is not as welcoming and completely as loving. And of course, each family will say, we now have another son, we now have another daughter.
Mm.
And each family would want, but when I'm born into a family, it's been 20 years, 25 years of creating that relationship. And now when it's a completely new relationship, it has to get created. It can't just be there.
Mm.
And it's interesting how we have different beliefs about how many people we can love. People actually believe I can only love a few people this close. Everyone else is like second tier and then third tier. Whereas that's not true. Like Bhakti is telling us we can love any number of people. And the proof of this is when a kid is born, you didn't love them before. And anyone who is a parent will tell you, you just love them so much. And sometimes I've seen couples where they like, no, I already have two, or no, I already have three. I really don't think I can love the second one, the next one. I remember even one mom telling me after her first child, I don't think I can love the second one as much as I love this one, and so I just don't think I'm going to have the second one. Because I just don't think it's possible to love anyone more than I love this kid. And I'm like, excuse me? I'm the second one. Are you saying that I'm not as loved as my sister? No! And then they'll have the second one. And it's a different love, but it's going to be love. And you can't quantify it and you can't qualify it. It's just love. And so, with this new family that you inherit, in terms of spiritual progress, it's working on that relationship to open our heart to be able to love, which is seriously a lot of hard work. When you just decide, I'm going to love them, doesn't mean they decide they're going to love you. And so there's going to be times when they think they're not doing anything wrong and you are so offended. And there's times when you think you're doing nothing wrong and they so offended. And then it can all just collect. Right? I didn't mean to say that, but you thought that's what I said. And so then you are aggressive, and then I'm defensive and more aggressive, and then so often we can end up in this stalemate situation. Stalemate in chess is when now neither player can play. It's just like this limbo state. And we get there because this not letting go. And so then, like I said, one of the other most important qualities of we train ourselves in marriage is to forgive. So often, with our emotions, our cup gets very full. We get irritated, we get hurt, we get irritated again. Same person irritated me. Then we're living with them, so they irritated me again. Then they irritated me again. Now I'm really hurt because they've irritated me 3 times. So now I'm irritated and hurt. And then it happens again, and it happens again. And then my cup is full with irritation and hurt. What's this cup that is full? My heart. My heart is now filled with irritation, hurt, and maha disappointment at the spouse. And then some mixed in there with pain, feeling of being rejected, feeling of not being respected, and then just betrayed by life at large. And you're laughing, but that's what it feels like. And if your cup is full, you have a very short fuse. Chances of making bad decisions are very high. focusing on not quite the right issue, very high. Willingness to make progress, very low. When our cups are very full, we want vengeance. And then we'll think it's us defending ourselves, or we'll think it's us standing up for ourselves. We can't see clearly because cup is full. And so a very important part is emptying this cup, letting the issues go. And when the cup is full, it's very hard to empty it. So it has to be emptied, even when it's filled up, even a little bit. Empty. Don't let it get so full. So now you're going to ask how. So the first thing is have a physical outlet. Gyms should really do more advertising this way. Whatever physical activity you enjoy, have that physical outlet and don't compromise on doing it because our cups get full very easily. And then a creative outlet when it's a bit more serious. Creative outlets are music, dance, art. Being with nature. And girls being with girls and nurturing. Boys being with boys and nurturing. Time where you feel, time apart where you feel understood so you can come back stronger. Doesn't always necessarily mean talking about the issue. You don't necessarily have to talk about it with other people. It doesn't have to be group therapy. It's just like nurture yourself enough so you're strong enough to see that it's okay, I can let this go. Bigger picture. What's the bigger picture? What do I want out of this marriage? Why did I even get married? Like even if you don't want moksha, what did you want out of this marriage? Somebody to be happy with? Well, then let's work towards that. Somebody who would support you, then let's work towards that. Somebody you can trust and respect, then work towards that. Doesn't even have to be moksha that you're working towards. Just whatever you wanted out of this marriage, work towards that and you'll realize you'll empty cup. Because bigger picture is always more important than whatever is filling your cup. It doesn't mean you don't have to resolve the issue of what's filling your cup. I mean, you can definitely come up with creative ways of expressing yourself that doesn't have to become one big fight or a drama. But you'll only be able to do that when cup is empty. And so one of the easiest things to make cup full is when couples say things to each other which are private in public. And so this was a common thing that I heard this morning with the different people I spoke to. So if something your spouse says that you don't like with or don't agree with, then you don't contradict it in public. In public, you let it slide. Then, once you alone, you can scream as much as you want at them. Because with all of us, it's more hurtful when we are criticized or insulted in public. not just by our spouse, by anyone, right? Even if you were in a work meeting and somebody says something to you versus behind a door if they say something to you. It's just always worse when it's done in public. And then so much more because this person is supposed to be the one who is standing by you, supporting you. So it's not that you have to always agree. Chances are you won't always agree. But at least not to make that disagreement public. Because also, unfortunately, when people know your weak points, they will press it. And so, as a couple, of course, knowing each other's weak points is part of the growth of the journey. For the world at large, no need to show where our weak point is as a couple. So, in terms of Vedanta, Vairagya, and this clarity of understanding that comes with when I'm in a relationship, I can know myself so well. In terms of bhakti, the ability to love. So we saw purpose of marriage to walk together in Dharma, purpose of marriage to work on ourselves so that we're walking in the right direction, so that we become adhikari. Adhikari means qualified to even pursue the purpose of moksha and lift ourselves. But also, purpose of marriage is, like I said, the reason we are not getting moksha at this point is because there's 3,784 desires. Maybe more. And so, purpose of marriage is fulfill together, fulfill all these desires. A large part of these desires will be the intimate relationship. And here it's commitment. There's nothing wrong. Each person will have a physical appetite for food and will have a physical appetite for sex, and it's just part of how the biology is made. And then some people are more foodies or less foodies, and same with sex. And it's part of the purpose of getting married to fulfill all of it. Travel and physical intimacy and food and prestige, all the desires that we want, usually based into pleasure and then power. All of us really want power. And then fame. To some extent, we want to be seen as beautiful, virtuous, intelligent, humorous. All of us want to be seen in a very favorable light. And so all desires categorized into these three categories: pleasures, power, and fame, yasha, kirti. So go fulfill. But remember, first rule is within Dharma. And so really it's this sense of commitment that's what makes marriage so important. Because very often people will say, but we can just live together, oh, I need to get married. It's a different level of commitment. And the other reason is because it's a promise. And people will say, do I really need marriage to make a promise? Rituals help. Rituals definitely help solidify your concept to us. So in the wedding ceremony, we're making a promise to God that I am committed. And then it's, what am I committed to? And this is crucial for us to understand. I am committed to making this work. What's this? The couple, the family, the extended family, and then the community. And it's really our mindset. More than how much work we do, it's the attitude with which we do the work. And so it's this commitment to making it work. So why did you get married? And how committed are you to make that work? Because all of us definitely have the power to. Even if we just make that a success, whatever our reason is, it will help us take the step to then up our game, which is another one of the Gita Panchamrit verses. Uplift yourself by yourself. So once you got this bit all sorted, you have to up your game. And then once you got that sorted, like forgiveness, yeah, easy, up your game. Unconditional love, yeah, can, up your game. So actually, whether you join the ashram or you get married, you have to do the same work on yourself. I'll pause here. Any questions? Yeah, you don't have to ask.
No, I've been wondering because also today, when you were talking about punya and then I can't say the other one.
Papa. Punya and Papa.
So I'm not super familiar with what
Punya and Papa mean.
Yeah.
So punya is when I do good actions and then the outcome brings me happiness, joy, comfort, ease, prosperity. And Papa is when I do actions that bring me suffering, anger, pain, shame, loss.
So this is, I guess, more pertaining to the Sindhi culture. But is that why there's that? I'm gonna say it wrong.
It's okay.
Lano Jano.
Leno Deno.
Lena Dena?
Huh.
Lena Dena. It's okay. You don't know language, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't. But
we know concepts.
Yeah, about changing the name. Is that more of that balance?
In the Sindhi tradition, you'll change the girl's first name as well as the last name because of astronomy. And then, the idea is marriage is hard. Actually, any new life-changing thing is hard. Right? Even when you finish university and you have to start working, it's hard. When you move countries the first year, very hard. When somebody you love dies, very hard. Anything big happens in life, it's hard. And it takes time. And marriage is a big thing. There's so many things that can go wrong. And so if something can be helpful, let's just take it. And And so in astronomy, astrology, they'll say the lettering of the words will be more beneficial if it's this way. Or that's why also we choose Murat. This time, this date is more beneficial, has more blessings. The idea is like, when I've got something so important to do, let's just get all the blessings possible. Now, is it the only thing that's going to affect your marriage? Not at all. Like, you could change the name and you could marry at the exact Murat they say, but if you don't put in the work, and then, for some unforeseen circumstances, maybe the name wasn't quite alphabetically matching, or even the Murat, like what to do. We didn't quite make the Murat, so if you're willing to make it work. Because blessings aren't invoked once, right? And the key thing about relationships, it's not a one and a done. I praised you once, done. I forgave you once, done. I spoke kindly to you once, done. That's not how relationships work. I have to constantly praise and support and accept. I have to constantly forgive. I have to constantly be encouraging. I have to constantly. It's constant. Blessings have to constantly be invoked. And work has to be consistently done. Like, even with the body, you don't exercise, straight away you lose muscle mass. You don't wash your hair, straight away it will stink. Like, it has to be done repeatedly. There's just no escaping it. Except when it's done often enough, it just becomes a part of who I am. Like, sometimes you've seen these seasoned couples and one goes off on a tangent and the other one's just like, okay, she'll be 5 minutes. Or he'll be 5 minutes. Like, they were so cute. Recently I stayed with this couple and he took us out for a walk, and then when we got back home, his wife looked at him and said, "Did you let them talk?" Or did you just talk the whole time? And he was like, I gave them time to talk. And she's like, okay, good. And it was such a cute exchange. It was such an adorable exchange because he, obviously he does talk a lot, and then he was aware of it because she's told him enough times that you talk too much, let other people talk. But the way he took it was so graceful, and like, it wasn't, you are insulting me. It was like, oh yeah, I do that, and you just helping me remember not to do it. Like, when we get to that level in the relationship, there's no fight here. Otherwise, you can imagine a younger couple. He walks in, she says, "Did you let them talk?" "What do you mean?" And then it can become such a fight. It can be like 2 weeks of heartache. You don't love me. Like, but that's not what she was saying. Yes, it was. It's what she was saying. That it's constant work to get to the point where we understand that's not what they say. You have another question?
Earlier you were saying, like, obviously, like, when we get this human birth, the goal is to obtain moksha.
Human birth's goal is moksha, correct?
Yeah. And you said that you can achieve that by loving a lot of people or loving one person, like, completely and totally unconditionally.
Loving everyone.
Loving everyone. Like,
not a lot of people. You have to love everyone.
Everyone.
Yeah. Or just one person.
Completely
Absolutely unconditional.
Could you then, like, for example, let's say, like, no matter what your spouse does to you, no matter what, like, they could, not to be morbid, but they could like murder you and you would still love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
Does that mean that then you would
Get moksha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then couldn't you say the same for like
Your
a
parents.
parent with
Yeah.
a kid?
Yeah. So that's why they say when you have a kid, treat them like Yashoda treated Krishna. Even if you love the kid unconditionally, you'll get moksha. Or even parents. It doesn't matter who the one person is. And mostly on the spiritual part, it will be guru.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter who that one parent is. But since this is a person is, since this was a marriage talk, I gave the example of spouse.
But so let's say you love your spouse like truly unconditionally.
That doesn't mean you do foolish things, huh? Loving them unconditionally doesn't mean they get away with everything.
Yeah.
Like the sweet wife saying, let them talk.
Yeah. Like as in you're like as we spoke about today, like you're both on this path towards like spiritual awareness and righteousness and growth together, and you're helping each other with your dharma, and you love each other unconditionally. That's enough to like obtain moksha.
Yeah.
So you don't need to reach that highest level of like.
So can I get moksha while being married? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you need to reach that level of clarity of thinking? Yes. Do you need to reach that level of unconditionalness of love? Yes.
I'm going to get a little deeper here because right now we're in the Kali Yuga age.
We are in Kali Yuga, correct.
And I've heard rumors. I'm not sure if this is true. I'm not factually sure. But that you can't, or it's very difficult for people to obtain moksha if you're born in this age.
It's actually the opposite. It's easier to get moksha in Kali Yuga because in Kali Yuga, everyone's mind is so not pure that Bhagwan actually lowers the bar.
Oh, so it's like a curve.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
So it's actually easier to get moksha in Kali Yuga. So you're in a good time. Any other questions?
I guess like what does it look like when in a relationship both partners are truly trying to help each other in that process to attain the ultimate goal? What does good look like when you're encouraging each other?
I think any couple who's working at improving themselves as a person and as a couple, I don't know if it looks one specific way. I'm sure they have bad days. I'm sure they have fights. I'm sure they get things wrong plenty of times. I would just say again, it's the commitment to making it work. It's the commitment to accept the other and improve myself. Not improve the other and accept myself. and that's why it's this equalness, right? If both people are accepting the other and improving myself, that's where the equalness comes in. Like, I know it's not hard to change even when I'm trying to change. Then how can I expect you to just suddenly change? And so, okay, I'm working on my bits, you're working on your bits, but even if you never work on your bits, I'm working on accepting it. And it looks like commitment.
In Hinduism, what does it say about like the soul that you marry? Like, does it have to be like a soul that you've taken birth with before?
Oh, such a romantic notion. That the soul I married was the soul I loved before. So remember I said, we have the ability to love infinite number of people. Why does it matter if I knew the soul? I can love them now. that matters is I love them. Even these new people that have come into my life, I can love. It's commitment too. It's commitment to loving them. And at work, at first, it's just work. Actually, the first year of marriage is just so much work. I always tell people the first year is bad, and then recently somebody said, "No, my sister said the first 5 years are bad." I said, "If I say that, nobody will get married." It progressively gets better after the first year, but it's not like it gets amazing after the first year. Everything takes time. Absolutely everything takes time. And even when you see a shoe and it's so comfy, it took time to break into that shoe. To make the grooves of the shoe just the way your foot is, right? It takes time. Or even the sweater that's the most comfortable, took time for you to make it that comfy. In this world of instant gratification, we're not doing ourselves any favors, because actually the most beautiful things take time.
I have like one last question. But
Only
like,
one.
maybe more, but like when it comes to, I think nowadays a lot of the conversation that we see surrounding marriage coincides with people, including myself, questioning whether they want to have kids or not. And I think like that's a really big thing. But I
Whether
wonder,
they want to have kids or not. Sorry, I'm repeating it for the online people.
Yeah.
I know you all
Hi,
can all
online.
hear, but the online people sometimes can't hear. Today, a lot of couples question whether they want to have kids or not. So, interestingly, this morning I rang 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 couples. Because, I've been talking about Gita and Gita and Gita and Gita, and then suddenly marriage, and like I said, very little of the Gita talks about marriage. But so just to get my head back into like more relationship modes, I just spoke about couples who I feel have done a really good job in their relationships. And it was interesting, more often than not, it was the men that said this, that how to make the marriage work, focus on the kids. Your marriage becomes better the minute you have kids. I said, is that your marriage advice? They're like, yeah. And one of them said it in a more like management way of speaking. He said, it gives you a common goal to work towards. And so you align. I said, okay. And if there's no kids, then sometimes couples just can't. Need a common goal to work towards. I thought that was interesting that both people who said it to me were the husbands. That the marriage gets better because actually in a marriage, when people enter like a relationship, it's very easy to think me versus him or versus her. It's very easy in a couple to do that. Like, I want to be couple, but I'm also still very much a part of this couple. The me is very strong. But when kids come along, it's just because that kid is so vulnerable, it's just easier to put the kid first. It's easier to put the kid first than it is to put the spouse first. But interestingly, also this morning when I was speaking to people, one person said that in marriage, you just have to learn to be able to put yourself aside. within your own thinking and see bigger picture. Like, and she didn't specify kids. Like, whether it's couple, whether it's family, whether it's extended family. And then actually it's true even for work. Like sometimes to get the job done, I have to just be able to put myself aside. And that would be the biggest lesson in terms of spirituality also, because the ego is so strong that we don't see Bhagavan. But if I learn how to put myself aside, that's literally me humbling my ego so I can see more of Bhagavan. And so marriage is practice. Of humbling ego. Marriage is practice of putting other people first. Marriage is practice of vivek, vairagya, shraddha, discipline, courage, forgiveness, patience, acceptance, encouragement, sensitivity. There's so many virtues that go to make us. And like nobody expects you to get it right the first week. Or the first year. So don't expect yourself to get it right the first year. Just remember all things worth it are worth waiting for. Okay, now we've gone over. I'll conclude. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhave, asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma mritam gamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.